Hey, I'm Rarity, and you are tuned in to the Houston Collective. And this first piece is called The Reintroduction. Okay. They gonna try to rookie me. Tell me I ain't ready yet. That I ain't got enough stats for the big leagues. And all that riffraff just tell me you nervous. You heard me spit and now you choking on yours. And baby, my bars age like fine wine. They only get more elite with time. So allow me to reintroduce myself. I am your first thought in the morning. The last voice you want to hear before a good night's rest. I rest on your temples with my feet up and my hands behind my head. That's why you stay in your mind all day. I am one of your greatest desires. The attention you give me is paid in full due to you wanting it to be undivided at all times. You multiply your necessity to hear my diction, cause when I spit that real. Words formulate from the back of my throat, no choke. I don't need to gag to get the job done. I always understand the assignment. I deliver my teachings through book and street wisdom. You is dumb if you think you smart enough to outsmart me on this mic. You have to sit down to understand me. And if I receive a standing ovation, I know you overstood me because you could never be me. I live for the day they try to bury me so they could find out I'm a seed. Anywhere I'm planted, I created growth. I'm made out of dirt. You could only be putting me into the natural room of my habitat, and the deeper I'm rooted, the more sturdier the throne. I am the personification of a crown, the origami of the poetry world, the restoration of a proverb. My words reincarnate the ideals of authenticity. I speak freely. Before I let someone tell me that I can't speak, I make sure they never speak again. And I'm gonna make sure they feel me like white on rice. And I don't get even with nobody because that will require that we be on the same level. So I like the odds. The odds even me out. And for those of you who want to take my kindness for weakness, best know you better off putting your ego up when you talk to me, because I become a danger when you let that thing loose. And now my screws loose enough to tighten yours back up, so I keep it about the poetry. And I advise others to do the same. So don't worry about how many poetry shows I do. I am the show. And I'ma always do me. I'm Rarity, baby. Do you honestly think there will ever be another poem?
Yeah, you know, I always never know when the poem ends until you say poem, which is now getting into my head, because the first couple of times I'm like, is it over? Is it over? Is that it? Yeah, no, I mean, so well, here, you know what? Let's do introductions. Hold on. Here's DJ Rico Black.
Thanks, Masaya, for that. Amazing intro. Yep, it's Rico Black here, co-host of the Houston Collective Radio. Here with us is Bleu, our audio engineer and camera switcher. We have Masaya, the weird guy over here. I'm looking at a preview of what's going out, and yeah, you're ugly, dude.
You know, I try.
All right. No, I'm just kidding. He's beautiful. And with us today is Rarity. Thank you so much for that first poem. We've got a great interview lined up for all of our listeners and viewers now. And take it away, Masaya.
Well, it's being taken away. And yeah, welcome to this is the Houston Collective sub-series, aka the Cultivated Beat, here at Community Cultivation Network here in Houston. Oh man, the delay was messing me up right there. So yeah, and we do have Rarity here. I've seen a lot of your stuff on the internet, and this is my first time seeing you live. Other than the other place, where was I watching? Mo City Radio.
Yes.
Not to promote other radio stations. I don't know if that's part of the FCC rules, but it's okay. So tell us about yourself. How did you land upon the poetry scene? You know, like, is this what you started out as? Were you a singer first, or, you know, origin story time?
Actually, I grew up in the theater world. acting, singing, dancing, playwriting, stage direction, the whole nine. When I went to college, that's when I started poetry. Got my heart broke. I didn't want to sing about it, so I wrote about it. And I did a poem, and I've been doing it ever since. Like, I took a little break for a minute because I stayed out in Dallas after college. So I actually just moved back home to Houston the beginning of last year.
Oh, wow.
So I just been active in the poetry scene ever since, because this is where I'm from.
Oh, so you said you weren't doing poetry out in Dallas?
No, I was.
Oh, okay.
I was. I took a break, tapped back into it at the very end of 22, all through 23. And then I came to Houston and just continued the journey.
Oh, so was it like a easy transition from the theater world to doing poetry? Because I feel like they definitely go hand in hand.
They do, but for me, it was not the easiest transition. It wasn't. But I enjoyed the new world of artistry. I learned a lot about poetry while I was in college. We had this organization called Poetic Justice, and I ended up becoming the president. So I was able to see things from a full worldwide view. And I love it. I love the poetry world. I love it here. It's probably the safest space for me mentally.
Dude, I've been learning that recently. I've never tried writing as a form of therapy up until maybe a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And dude, it is the most sleeper form of therapy, and it's free. And it's free. And and I'm surprised that no one ever talks about that other than the poetry scene. But at the same time, like, I feel like poetry and jazz are within the same realm because you have to pay attention to poetry and jazz to get the full oomph out of it. So what was like the influences that influenced you on writing that first piece? I mean, I kind of get it, but like, I love the that came out of that.
The first in the poetry community, if you haven't done something for a certain amount of time, or you don't have enough accolades behind it, people will try to rookie you. Like, talk to you as if you don't know what you're doing, or that you're not capable of hitting a certain level at a certain time. And I kind of just got tired of hearing it. And it wasn't just about me. There are others in my same position. So I felt like I was writing for all of us. But in that, I also wanted to make sure that to myself that I'm very aware of who I am. So like, that piece is more so like people hearing me talk to myself in the mirror. Like, you get to be an audience member to a personal conversation. You know, like, you have to hype yourself up in the morning and say, hey, you got this. It's like one of those pieces like, yeah, you like, come on now. You know. Yeah.
So is that a newer piece, or is that like one that's been in the books for a minute?
So it's actually a piece that I ripped and put back together. So like, the midsection of the piece I did back in Dallas as an intro, because I started being asked to do sets, and it's like all these poets have an intro piece, and I just be going up there with the first piece that I had. So I wrote that, and then that inspiration came. So I was like, okay, how do I make all of this work together and bring it into a full, like, actual piece? And that's what that came from.
Yeah, it's very inspiring to hear that oomph into all that, and it's definitely been speaking to me, or it spoke to me, especially during this time. But anywho, what you got next for us?
What do I have next? Well, let's see. I have, okay, this piece is called The Healed Version of Me. Okay. Before I go to bed, I like to create scenarios in my head. help me fall asleep faster. I usually choose fiction because I have a hard time trusting things that are too good to be true, but it's easy for me to know bad when I see it. But one day, I decided to put my desires on display, created a blank canvas out of my own mindset, woven in the cloth of my gifts, sewed in my good deeds so whoever reaps can smile genuinely. Crazy. This should be about me, but I'm thinking about the betterment of my people, but that's who I am. I closed my eyes one day and saw a stage, a platform filled with the silent cries of the voiceless, a mic stand filled with lonely souls and therapeutic sacrifice. As each hole in that mic inhales my words, I extract motivation. I turn my transparency into a PowerPoint presentation. I TED Talk for the talks your inner child didn't get what they Teddy. I'll bear the burden for you. I'll be the strength. I'll be the voice that's needed. I do not believe that I can heal the whole world, but I do believe that I play a vital role in a piece of it. And who knows, that piece may be the final piece of the puzzle, the piece that brought peace. My story will push the button on the green light for the hidden memoirs hidden in the shadows. And when we kill that darkness, we will make the sun jealous because even the moon will be able to shine in any time of the day, and we will howl proud because the boy cried tears of joy. The wolves just needed to see themselves in a mirror that didn't identify them as a villain. They were just raised by them, but there was no need to repeat history. When you see them coming, they coming to protect. The village can be safe now because that's what it has to be to raise up the right way. See, the healed version of me looks like rare sightings. The light at the end of the tunnel that exemplifies the rose in the desert. My face alone will let you know that everything will be okay. I breathe through prayers. I relax through blessings. And all I had to do was show up for myself. Because if I do that, everything I touch will be good. My presence will be a safe space. My energy will relax your aura. My demeanor reflects its feminine dominance. Every time I heal in this never-ending journey, my crown activates other crowns to be free. America was never the land of the free. We are. And out of the dirt came Rarity. And that's all I need to be is me. Poem.
Man, I'm getting chills. What's from the last poem that you were talking about, you said that was the middle, or the middle part was an intro or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how often are you revisiting poems and adjusting it? Or are all your poems a working progress throughout the years?
So actually, I just started revisiting old poems. I am in this phase of learning how to recognize my growth instead of people just telling me that, because for me, it's easy for me to slip into a negative mindset. I think I'm the hardest on myself. So I'm focusing on being able to say, hey, you come a long way. And I figure what better to do than to go all the way back to old pieces and see how far my writing has come. And what I found was a bunch of unfinished pieces. So I was like, how can I take the section from this and then this section I did 2 years after that, how do I make them work together? Because you don't want to necessarily get rid of it. Now, some old writings is like, okay, don't write that no more, put that away. But then other ones you want to keep, but they're not a part of a piece. So you have to figure out how the good parts of the old version of you work with who you are in the present, and make sure the piece doesn't deter you from who you are now.
So when you're mixing and matching different pieces and old pieces, does that become an entirely new piece, or is it the same piece with just different parts? Yeah.
I would say it's an entirely new piece.
So do you change the title and all that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So it's like your old, so then once that's done and or not remix, but you know what I mean, does that just get put on the side until maybe a few years later and then you revisit it, or
Yeah.
so like, and you said you recently started updating most of your pieces and stuff, like, so how do you determine that, or are you just going through your old notebooks and be like, I don't like that, but I like this, so I'm gonna do this, and then call it that? Is that
Yeah. I literally just lay in bed, you know, and I just scroll all the way down till I get to the first. I think the oldest poem I have in my phone came from like 2016. So I started from there and just started working my way through. And I didn't necessarily delete anything because you always want to see the progression. Like, especially on your down days, you want to remember, hey, I was once here and now I'm here. So if I did it before, I can do it again. So I don't necessarily delete it. I just know when I read it again, okay, we're going to leave that alone. Or, okay, let's keep it because I think that meshes well with an unfinished piece I have today. You know,
so does that mean like so you know mostly everything that you write intimately, to be like, you know what, I remember I wrote this a couple years ago, let me get back to that, and then
oh yeah.
dude, so your like memory in your brain is like on fire then, huh? Like
Yeah.
to be able to remember all that, and then so does that still leave room for like everyday stuff that
Yeah.
okay, because
Yeah.
I'm like,
Cause some old pieces, even though I love them, I leave them where they're at because that was just a time of my life where that's how I felt. But I don't necessarily feel the need to present it. Like some poems have never left the notebook. They've never been heard by anybody other than me and God. Like, so I just decide, like, if there's something I need to be a part of my present day, then I take those excerpts out and work them into new projects and pieces and stuff like that.
Oh, we got another question.
Yeah, I got a question. To you, from what I'm hearing, it seems like a lot of self-talk. It's a lot of empowerment. What's the difference to you between just self-help, a diary, and poetry?
The difference between the three?
Yeah.
Mm, okay. Self-help. Okay. Self-help, I feel like, is the ability to motivate yourself without others' motivation. Like, you have to, there's going to be a lot of times in life where you're literally going to have to walk that journey by yourself. And you can't have anybody egging you on, can't have anyone saying, oh, you can do this. It's only you, yourself, and your mind. I feel like that's self-help, because if you're able to get yourself out of it and believe in yourself enough, it doesn't really matter what happens when you're back around people and working on the next project or whatever is coming next. For me, a diary is just, I look at it as just venting. You know, you're not really trying to fix anything. You're just trying to get the thoughts out of your head. Because as much as you think about it on the daily, it's a different feeling when you see it written down. Because you're looking back like, oh man, I went through that, you know? And you don't, I think it's absolutely important not to try to fix anything when you're writing in your diary. Because if you try to do too much at once, you're gonna overstimulate yourself, and now you don't want to talk about it no more because it's too much. And it's like, no, don't fix it. Just write it down. Like, poetry allows you to take the self-help and the diary and make it work together. Okay, so you went through all of this. You didn't go through this for nothing, right? So how do I allow my transparency and vulnerability to save parts of the world that need it? Because poetry is all about being a messenger and the message. So it's like, when people hear poetry, yeah, you want to come and you want to have a good time. But I think overall, when people go into a poetry setting, they're expecting to take something from it. Some people come to laugh. Some people come to cry. Some people come to say, finally somebody understands what I'm saying, like, you know, because they can't find the words. So as poets, it's like it's our job to find the words for you. And sometimes you'll find poets that write a piece about not being able to find the words while saying everything that you needed to hear. Like I think for me, I pride myself on transparency and motivation because it's hard. Like, and I need people to know that they're not alone, because the worst feeling in the world is being alone and you didn't want to be that. So even if you only reach, you treat it like church. Even if you only reach one person, you did a good job that day. Yeah, and that's how I treat the poetry world.
Oh, man, stop giving me chills, Rarity, because what you're saying right now is definitely what I need to hear. And I don't know, I can't speak for the other people in here, but I'm that one person today for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sorry, I'm stepping on toes here. Oh, yes, yeah. All right, well, I'm going to gather my thoughts for the next round. So what do you have next for us today?
Oh, okay. I'll explain after. But this piece is called Fairy Tale. I hope it doesn't ruin your joys of fairy tales. But this piece is called Fairy Tale. When we were young, from the minute we left the womb, our parents tried to keep our world as innocent as our very small being. Baby boy will one day be a prince, baby girl a princess. But when we get older, we wonder, who told the tale of the fairy? And who do I blame for the lies that we were told the world, perhaps, that normalized perfect pictures inside fractured frames, framing the depiction of joy and happiness under false pretenses? When we were younger, we wore costumes with desires of who we wanted to be one day. But little Tinkerbell had no idea that her tall ideals would never land her a Peter. Rather, Peter actually panned out to be a kidnapper. But Papa told her to watch out for the Captain Hooks. But Peter was the one going into homes taking children to places designed for them to never grow up. Maybe Captain Hook just wanted to stop false realities. Maybe he learned at a young age that fairy tales are made up stories from authors that wish life had went a little differently for them growing up. But these authors, they tried to shield their trauma by providing a villain in every tale just to find out who the villain may actually be is not how it was portrayed in the story. A childhood is a sacred place, a place of innocent reality, where Legos are building blocks to teach you how to build greatness with your own bare hands, but not prepare you for the Jenga where people take and take from you till you eventually crumble. But at least there, you can rebuild as many times as necessary as long as you keep going. The trauma begins in that first tale that you put in that lullaby as your baby slumbers and lets the words calibrate into memory. The confusion between realities and utopias are divided by a thicker line with each age, where life slowly goes from Disneylands to Hunger Games. At what age do we reveal the truth? Or did we finally figure out that the person that told the tale of the fairy was a parent that was lied to as a child too? Poem.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think fairy tales are tales that, parents were lied to. I want to touch on when you were talking about how people try to label you as a rookie. So, like, are the people that's telling you how to do things, are they judges in competitions or just other poets in general?
Just other poets in general. And it's not always negative. You know, some people just been in the game longer. And like for me, I didn't start doing competitions until last year. So sometimes you can't tell the difference between people that's trying to advise you or trying to tell you to stay in your lane. You know, sometimes there's a gray area there, and I kind of had to figure that out the hard way. But I have great like mentors in my life, and some of them became like my sisters and brothers in the poetry community, and they helped me navigate who's for you, who's not for you, like places to go, places not to go, you know, be who you are. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you're doing. You're great, you know, that uplift me. So when I wrote the piece, I didn't want to sound too negative. I just wanted it to be clear, like, hey, I may be new to an aspect of the poetry world, but I'm not new to poetry. So if you're not going to help, at least do not harm kind of message. Yeah.
See, that sounds like something a mentor would say. Is that something you see in your future with poetry?
I was a mentor in college.
Okay, yeah, it's the president.
Yeah.
You did a little bit already, yeah.
Yes, I still have mentees to this day that I check in and out with, you know. I gained mentees because I was always transparent. Even though I was the mentor, I believe in growing with people instead of trying to outgrow people. It's like we could really go through this journey together. Like, I'm here to help guide you, but I'm guiding you as I'm working through it so you can see what it looks like versus me telling you what it looks like. That's how I started mentorship when I was in college.
So what's the goal for the future as a poet?
I really, okay, this, not to sound negative because I have a habit of sounding that way, but this may sound far-fetched, but I really, by the time I'm 50, if not 45, I would like to create my own poetry label. Like, you know how there's a bunch of music labels, you know, the music industry. I want to create a poetry label that literally just works with writers in the poetry community, performance aspects, like the whole shebang. Like I want to create like a Def Jam, you know, kind of, you know, like industry for poetry. It's just something I want to see. I'm kind of tired of like looking at award shows and there's so much music, but there's no poetry. And a lot of these artists started with poetry first, like Tupac, Biggie, you know, they were poets, you know, but we often forget that. And it's like, I feel like there has to be something that helps the whole world remember. And I think poetry is really doing its thing right now. So my dream don't seem too far-fetched, but it's like, you still got to be careful. Like, because if the music industry was slimy, ain't no telling what's gonna happen in the poetry world. But I think if I stay true to myself, you know, like, I'm a praying woman, like, I'm a God-fearing woman. If I stay true to myself, true to my craft and what I'm supposed to do here, I think it'll work out just fine. Even if I'm not the one to do it, I think I will be the person that motivates whoever does.
So do you consider, well, I know you said you started competing last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you're good. And so, yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, it's still, so how do you balance giving advice to poets? Because I feel like it's such a personal thing. Mm-hmm. And so the advice that you would have to give would be geared towards competition. Because I just learned that, because I've always loved slam poetry and I didn't know that was competition based. Mm-hmm. So then, like, how do you give someone advice to do slam versus giving someone advice to be like, your poetry's good, but this, you know, yeah. I feel like that's such a weird little.
It's funny. I saw this video from a poet and he was talking about how there's no such thing as a slam poet. And that is true. Anybody can slam. I think what happens is there's rules to the game when you're entering a competition. Like, you have to have a certain time in which you do it. Some people might need like outside props and stuff like that, that may be something that you can't have, you know. So I think the only difference between just going and performing and actually putting into a competition is just the rules. Like, are you able to fit within the guidelines of what you're about to do? Some people can't be contained, so they rather not, you know, be somewhere where something might be restricted as such as time. But then there's other people, you know, that appreciate the discipline. Like, I used to be very against slam poetry, like not seeing it or witness it, but like being in it because I is the bias. But now that I've done it, it's really about accepting the challenge and the discipline of your craft, being able to fit in any arena. Like, if you need me for a slam, you need me to perform in front of 1 million people, like, it allows that range and that growth to be able to say, I don't want to do it, but I can do it, you know. Like, it's but there is a such thing as slam poetry. I don't really think there's such thing as a slam poet. Poetry is poetry.
Yeah, no, and I always thought that too. But it's yeah, like learning more details about the poetry community. It's like it runs just as deep as all the poets in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, oh man, so like, but poetry's always been super close to my heart, just because, like what you said, it speaks to the soul, and there's no fluff around it, whether it's music or whatever. It's you, your voice, your words, and your message. And it's like, ugh.
Yeah,
I enjoy this too much. It's making me feel things, and I don't want to feel things right now. But yeah, and so with that said, we're gonna do a little bit of a closeout, and then we'll go. Oh yeah, I know we're all looking around. I don't know I don't know who we're looking around for, but yeah. But yeah, well, Rarity, I appreciate you coming out here and putting your heart out there for me to receive and for the audience to receive. And so, Bleu, do you want to do the outro real quick before we get into the sneak peek?
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Houston Collective. We have been graced by the presence of Rarity. Rarity, we appreciate you being here.
glad to be here.
Yeah. And appreciate everybody listening in, everybody watching in. This has been the Houston Collective, the Collective Beat, here at the Community Cultivation Network. Thank you so much. You can listen on KPFT 90.1 FM, 89.5 in Galveston, 91.9 in Huntsville, anywhere in the world at kpft.org, or just check out the YouTube channels that we got, because there's some pretty cool stuff there. That being said, there might be a exclusive thing left on YouTube for y'all to see. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Hey, we're back. I'm trying to like keep the vibe up, but geez, like the heart is so heavy right now in a good way. But yeah, she said all that, but really, check out the HoustonCollective.com. That's where you'll find everything uncensored, censored, and at a regular hour. So inside joke. Yeah. So Rarity, what do you have up for the last piece for us today?
This one is it's a Black woman piece. So it's called "It Did Crack." Okay. They say black don't crack. Well, that's interesting, because my black did crack. And it showed through the sculpture of the strong black woman they put on display inside of Earth's Museum of Natural Science. They magnified the gaps and saw the storms I weathered, the thunder I responded to, the lightning it took to make me the woman they wonder about. I wonder if they know my heroism is a syndrome. I have always saved people that were incapable of saving me. I'm quite service-oriented, providing fundamentals when it wasn't so fun to be mentally unhealthy. unhealthy. And no, you can't fund my mentals through therapy. My experiences ain't therapeutic. My black life saw white like the other side of the grass. If it's greener, it's meaner. And water comes by popular demand. And no matter how popular our demand is, our skin granted us limitations on necessities. But our grass doesn't look painted on. Ain't no laid down tarp to hide our insecurities. Ours is real, grown, taken care of to the best of our ability, strong like the roots that they were built from. These trees of life survive deserts and still produce beautiful gardens. To be a black woman means that we could take something from nothing. We not magicians. We just the stones that the builders refused and somehow still made steady foundations. We took shattered pieces and built monuments, just like God took women and created queens. But somehow we became the world's biggest threat known to man. 2-time offenders, black, a woman. Oh my, folks are shook. They have enough to convict us, but they too locked into what we could do for this rubbish of a country, because without us, nothing makes sense. Nothing looks like hard work. Nothing feels like real joy. We know what good feels like because we survived the bad, the ugly, while we still set pretty. We are the biggest triumph, the most educated, the most nurturing, the most solid, with the ability and power to turn your tarnished pride into liquid. So we don't respond well to being seen and not heard. Cause you hearing me is you seeing me very loud and very clear. So yeah, my black may crack a time or two, but don't ever get it confused, because this black girl became a black woman and my crown still sits the same. Poem.
Well, with that said, where can it? Did you get smoked out?
Oh, good.
So with that said, how can the audience find you? Where can they find you? Because you do post amazing stuff on your Instagram. So just please plug that.
On all my socials, you can find me at talkthattalk_rarity.
Awesome. So do you have any shows coming up where people can see you live for the local Houston community?
Yes. I actually am in a slam. I'm actually in a slam on Tuesday for Right About Now Poetry. I have a show coming up in March. No, let's back up. I will be one of the artists for God Body Weekend for AJ McQueen in February. And then in March, one of my mentors, Khalid, he has a birthday show that I'm going to be a part of, the March 15th. But all that information will be posted on my social media.
Awesome. So yeah, follow Rarity on her Instagram, and I love all the little quotes or like pieces that you post on there. I read every single one of them. I might not like or comment on it just because it's like, oh my God, this is the person I got to work with soon. Why? Yeah. But no, I appreciate putting your thoughts out into the world like that. Whether or not it's social media, just being able to put your heart out there, for someone to absorb and get into their soul. But yeah, I'm a little extra today as usual. But thank you, Rarity, for once again showing up, doing this, hanging out here with us, the Houston Collective crew and the Cultivated Beat. And until next time. Oh, do you have any more words of wisdom you want to tell your audience?
No, just live life one step at a time. Please.
I will, Rarity. Thank you. So, until next time, this has been the Cultivated Beat at the Community Cultivation Network. I'm always getting laughed at. It's all right. But yeah, goodbye. Thank you. And goodbye again.
All right.